This is a story about what became known as the Miracle on the Hudson. I met Captain Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles. This is what they told me. US Airways Flight 1549 has just taken off from New York LaGuardia for Charlotte, North Carolina. The aircraft is an Airbus A320. Flying that day is Training Captain Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles. Jeff is flying the aircraft. He is doing transition training to be allowed to fly the Airbus A320. It's a two-engine jet about the same size as a Boeing 737. On board are 155 people. As the jet climbs through 2,800 feet, disaster strikes. Jeff Skiles is forced to fly right into a flock of birds. They're Canada geese that thrive around the Hudson River in New York City.
Cactus 1539 hit birds through lost thrust and both engines returning back towards LaGuardia.
The birds completely disable both engines. A double engine failure is very rare. Captain Sully Sullenberger makes a drastic decision.
Cactus 1529, we can get it for you. Do you want to try to land 1013?
We're unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
Cactus 1529, turn right 280, you can land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the Hudson.
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus?
Air traffic controller Patrick Herter has never heard anything like this on the radio.
Up to this point in my career, I had never heard of a commercial airline successfully pulling off a water landing. My mind didn't really want to comprehend the words that he was saying. That's why I said, say again. I asked him to repeat himself.
210-2718. I think he said he was going in the Hudson.
As passengers, we are always briefed on the possibility of a water landing. Flight attendants tell you about life jackets or even using your seat as a flotation device. This is almost reassuring, but the truth is, a commercial jet hitting water usually breaks apart into tiny pieces. Aircraft are pressurized aluminium tubes. An aircraft's skin is very thin, just strong enough to contain the air, but not strong enough to survive a crash into water. Water is never a soft option. At 180 miles per hour, landing on water is like flying into a brick wall. But Captain Sully knew that their only option was to land on a flat, unpopulated part of New York City, the Hudson River.
We were descending much more rapidly than for a normal landing because we didn't have engine thrust to make it a more gradual, a flatter approach. The final critical maneuver was to choose the height at which I would begin raising the nose to trade some of our forward speed for a reduced rate of descent and to achieve the proper nose-up attitude for touchdown.
For Captain Sully Sullenberger, it is what he is trained to do. But he brought to the flight deck that day a special skill. Sully flies gliders. US Airways Flight 1549 was now an unpowered glider. All aircraft glide, some more than others. A dedicated long-wing glider can stay aloft, circling on thermals, for hours. An Airbus A320, at under 3,000 feet above the ground, can only glide about 2 miles. Sully knows this.
We were descending at the rate, if you were in a hotel elevator, 2 floors per second. I knew it'd be a hard landing, I just didn't know how hard. I said, "This is the captain, brace for impact."
He is now flying the plane by the seat of his pants. It's a trade-off between speed and height. If the aircraft gets too slow, the air over the wings will separate, producing a stall and loss of control. But if he hits the water too fast, the aircraft will be destroyed. What Sully and Jeff did that day demonstrated their considerable skills as pilots. Their first priority was to keep the plane flying. Now, sadly, a 10-ton gliding brick. He also had to keep the wings level to stop an uncontrolled cartwheel into the river. Just 208 seconds after the plane hit the birds, Sully and Jeff land the plane beautifully onto the Hudson River. A little known fact, the crew knew the pressurized aircraft had a large dump air valve at the tail of the plane. When it is active, it removes the pressurized cabin air quickly, but it's also a gaping hole that would let in water. At the final moments, Sully dumped the air pressure using the valve and then closed it. This kept the plane dry and gave time for the 155 passengers and crew to exit the aircraft onto the wings. New York City riverboats picked everybody up. No one died that day. Sully and Jeff were heroes. But the press did not understand that a commercial aircraft has a crew of 2 pilots. First Officer Jeff Stiles told me he hit the birds and helped to fly the plane successfully onto the Hudson River. But when they were both invited to the White House, there was one golden throne for Captain Sully Sullenberger and just a metal folding chair for Jeff with the name Crew written on it. A YouTube subscriber to this channel asked me to explain why the aircraft did not sink. So, let's do an experiment. If you fill this model with water, it still floats. Aviation fuel weighs less than water, and we all know that kerosene floats. But this is not the reason Flight 1549 stayed aloft for quite a while on the Hudson River. The real reason is displacement. Displacement occurs when an object is immersed in a fluid, pushing it out of the way and taking its place. It's called the Archimedes Principle. The law states that any body submerged in a fluid is acted upon by an upward or buoyant force, the size of which is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the body. This is why the plane floated, and why in World War II we could even build ships made of concrete. Or today we have container ships or supertankers that appear too heavy to float. They don't float like a cork full of air. They float because the size of the hull pushes away the same size of water. Archimedes discovered this in his bath, and so can you. To end the film, let's go mad and set the model on fire. And just to demonstrate what happens when you pour water onto burning fuel, whoosh. So viewers, do not do this at home. Put out your gasoline fires with sand or a fire blanket. Trust your flight crew because they are highly trained professionals. And remember, When the press say Jeff Skiles and Sully Sullenberger pulled off the miracle on the Hudson, it wasn't a miracle. It was pure skill. The truth is out there.